Okay, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon. My name is Jae-Woong Kim, Director of Innovative Corporation Support Department of KSD. Today, I would like to introduce about KSD's Central Repository Services for crowdfunding and startup supporting services. Since we started these services since January of 2016. Okay, let's look at the overview of security type crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, a compound word of crowd and funding, refers to the practice of raising funds from a large number of people via an internet-based online intermediary by startups with creative ideas or business plans. Okay, there are three distinct types of crowdfunding in the industry, each with a different funding and compensation method. First one is reward and donation type crowdfunding, which is started from 1970s. It is mostly used by social enterprises or cultural projects. Second one is a lending type crowdfunding, started from Kiva, which is the first online lending platform in USA, 2005. This is the most active crowdfunding in the world as well as in Korea. The last one is the security type crowdfunding, which I will speak about today. It is one of the investment products which receives dividends or interest for the compensation from the issuer. It has been widely spread out since 2012, in which Jobs Act of the USA enacted. Korea also benchmarked Jobs Act, but we have different from the one in USA, in the point that we have central repository system, which manages the subscription and issuance data centrally. Here, you can see a company's life cycle and the effective investment sources by the timeline. In the preceding and the seeding stage, angel investors, government subsidies, and accelerators have been major investors traditionally. But during this death valley of the early stage, most of the startups failed to get enough investment from outside investors. At this stage, crowdfunding utilizing the individual investors and 3F, which are family, friend, and fan, would be the very effective investment source to the startups. Okay, now you can see how a company can expand its crowd in the securities type crowdfunding. Starting from the reward type crowdfunding, a company needs to get three F's investment, which is followed by its trust capital from the suppliers, its clients, and its supporters. And finally, the power of the connected vital crowd can work effectively. Okay, let's look at the status of crowdfunding in Korea from now on. In order to support the startups and create new jobs for young generation and new investment opportunities, Korean government legislated securities type crowdfunding system in 2015. KSD was appointed as the central repository by the Financial Services Commission in August 2015 and started crowdfunding system in January 25th, 2016. This diagram shows the issuance procedure of the crowdfunding securities. All online intermediaries are linked with the KSD's crowdfunding system and simultaneously transfer the investors' data to KSD. And once every condition are met, KSD issues the crowdfunding securities in electronic form and distribute it through the brokers. For your information, every description from this slide are stipulated in the Capital Market Act of Korea. Central repository manages data and information on crowdfunding issuers and investors and controls the issuance and investment cap. Online intermediaries intermediate the offer and sale of the securities between issuers and investors only via online platform. Besides the central repository, KSD bears the role of the central securities depository as well as the transfer agent. Every issuer shall entrust the shareholders list to KSD according to the Act. And the Act entrusts the safekeeping of the subscription money to the banks and securities finance corporation. Issuer is limited to unlisted small and medium companies with not more than 7 years since its establishment. You can see a few exemptions and non-eligible type of businesses here. In principle, issuing securities through crowdfunding means doing public offering according to the Act. Therefore, the Act stipulates a few special provisions on public offering for security stock crowdfunding. Unlike IPO and small sum public offering, which needs to submit very complicated registration statement to the FSC, securities type crowdfunding can start the offering by uploading very simplified documents such as the terms and conditions of securities, financial statement, and prospectus to the online platforms. And crowdfunding issuer can issue not more than 3 billion Korean won, which is equivalent to 2.7 million US dollars from the end of this month, according to the amendment of the decree. Distinctively, securities type crowdfunding has the goal of accomplishment system in which the whole issue will be canceled if the total subscribed amount is less than 80% of the target amount of the public offering. I can say this reflects the meaning of the crowdfunding, which is wisdom of crowd. The Act places caps on investment per issuer and the annual total investment to prevent substantial losses from excessive investment. Investors are categorized into individual investors, investors with qualified income, and professional investors, depending on their expertise and ability to take risk. And different limits are set on the maximum investment per issuer and total investment per year, according to the investor type. Now, let me show you statistics of crowdfunding in Korea. Since January 2016 through May 2021, total 1,407 companies attempted and 877 companies succeeded with 146.9 billion Korean won funded, which is equivalent to 131.5 million US dollars. Cumulative success rate during this period is 62.3%. The crowd is leading the market as shown in the slide. Total number of individual investors are more than 63,000, which is approximately 92% of the total investors during the period. And the individual investors invest more than 60% of the total investment. CrowdNet is the official crowdfunding website in Korea made by KSD. KSD, a key infrastructure of the crowdfunding market, is providing information and statistics to issuers, investors, intermediaries, and supervisory authorities through CrowdNet. Since crowdfunding deals are scattered to 14 different platforms, the CrowdNet shows all of the company information in progress. Therefore, the investors can easily access to all funding deals in Korea through CrowdNet. Finally, I would like to review the benefits of crowdfunding by a central repository. As far as I know, only Korea adopted the central repository services for crowdfunding among all other world in CSDs. For the issuer, crowdfunding helps startups to find new investors, new customers, new media channels, and new market. And crowdfunding can be a new investment opportunities for the investors. And also crowdfunding gives the online platforms new business opportunities and let them avoid overlapping investment by participating in central repository services provided by KSD. CSD also can expand its business horizon to the unlisted startups, which will be a new earning income. Finally, government can execute effective support policy to small and medium companies through central repository. And thus, this will lead to building the basis for robust economic development and ultimately, I believe. And I would like to introduce KSD Startups Supporting Services as the central repository for crowdfunding. KSD, as a pivotal infrastructure in Korean capital market, made a business model to foster and facilitate innovative startups, which the capital market-based innovative startups. With the securities-type crowdfunding central repository services, we provide K-Camp accelerating program for the early stage startups to facilitate them to enter into the crowdfunding market. And for the startups who succeeded in the funding, we bridged the venture capital with them via K-Camp IR Consult. KSD supports and facilitates local startups through the K-Camp accelerating program to help them grow as the participants in Korean capital market. Accelerating is to provide early stage startups with the services of training, consulting, networking with investors, reaching the venture capital investment to them. Here is the KSD's partner accelerators, including Spark Labs, one of the famous global accelerators. Okay, we run 4 camps in major region of Korean Peninsula, which is Busan, Daejeon, Daegu, and Gwangju last year. Last year, we achieved 15.1 billion Korean won of follow-up investment attracted for 39 startups, even though they are less than 7 years of history. And this year, March 25th, we held K-Camp final round to compete with each other and to award prizes to K-Camp excellent startups from 4 regions. This year, KSD is planning to expand K-Camp accelerating program to Gangwon province, and also we will launch it in Jeju Island next year. Okay, this is my presentation. If you have any questions about the crowdfunding, you can contact me with the phone or email on the slide. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kim, for a very meaningful presentation.